So yeah, we are live.
All right, cool. Give me 1 second. Oops. Can you see my screen?
Not yet.
Okay, 1 sec.
No worries. We can cut this part.
There we go.
Okay.
Should be able to see it now. All right, so on the call we have Oleg, Joseph, Natasha, Sladen, and myself. I think that's everyone. This is the office hours for 3rd of July. So since the last office hours, we've had 2 releases, 1.21 and 1.22. I think 1.21, there was no user-facing changes, but there was, for anyone using the JMH benchmarks, support was added to people depending on the Configuration-as-Code plugin to configure JMH benchmarks using Configuration-as-Code. And in 1.22, there was a few fixes. So Oleg's just added the blog to the meeting notes of how to do the JMH benchmarks. In 1.22, we added a debugging fix for to make it easier when there was bad configuration being sent through. It now shows the expected parameters. I'll just show a quick example. Should be in here. So now it now adds the yeah. So available attributes are now in there. Here we go. Expected names of parameters, expected type of parameters, and I think that's now been combined inline as well. So hopefully that makes it easier for users. We've also added some support for, I think, subclass fields that we had to on the descriptor. So Git plugin was doing this, and there was you can add browsers to the Git plugin in some way, and that's now supported thanks to Oleg. We've had some demo fixes for the EC2 plugin, which is now compatible again. And we have the test now passed on Windows again, as we're not testing every build on Windows because of the Jenkins infrastructure. The Windows infrastructure is a lot slower and not as reliable, and we had a lot of issues with it, so we don't test continuously. So every now and then issues are introduced. We try not to. And the other thing is we're now blacklisting default properties on tools. So that's something that's used for the UI, which was being exported, and it was preventing you from being able to export your config and then import it again without any modifications. So now in a lot of cases, you should be able to export your configuration and then re-import it, and it should work. Before this change, it wasn't possible. We've also added a blacklisting method inside of the plugin for now, which you can add to if you don't want certain fields to be exported. This is an example of the syntax. So the one that we have blacklisted currently is default properties on Hudson Tools tool property. We're open to extending this to making it so plugins can contribute it themselves, but we just need to see that there's a need, and it wouldn't be too much of a change given that I think it's JEP 200 it has a similar sort of functionality, and we may move, and we are looking into removing we currently have a restricted annotation, which isn't really meant for us to use, but currently we ignore anything that's restricted, and we're looking at removing that behavior as requested by a couple of users, and then using the blacklist functionality instead. But that's ongoing work that we'll look into soon, hopefully. I think that's all from the release updates, unless anyone's got anything to add on that.
Nothing specific, so maybe it's worth mentioning that we had a few plugin releases which added JCask compatibility. So, for example, the EC2 plugin, which has been already mentioned, now it's compatible with JCask, so few bugs have been fixed today and released. Then in Git plugin, we now have support of submodel definitions. We are still waiting for the final release, but it should land soon. And yeah, there is a lot of other pull requests which are staged. For example, a log parser plugin pull request created by Joseph, if I recall correctly. It's also staged for the release. So yeah, maybe for the next meeting, it makes sense to just put a list of such new integrations.
Yeah.
Didn't think about it, but it makes sense.
Yeah, another one I know of is the Build Failure Analyzer plugin is now compatible in beta. So there's an experimental version you can use. This needs to be sorted by recently updated.
Oh, well, it's not trivial. So basically, it sorts by artifact ID name, so that we can group plugins.
The other dashboard, I think, is sorted by recently updated.
Yeah, maybe. Well, I think
yeah.
this.
Oh. Yeah, so this is the only open dashboard. So open compatibility issues. Yeah, this one's sorted by updated. Okay. So we'll go on to the next topic. We've got Oleg has some Google Summer of Code updates.
Yeah, it's just a quick update. So yeah, last meeting we had one student, UFA, who joined the meeting to talk about his JSOC project. So the update is that this project is not going to happen. So the student withdrawn, and it means that we are not going to proceed on the scope we had in this project. But yeah, maybe there are other options which we will discuss in the next items. So yeah, right now there is no JSOC project which strictly targets JCask. But yeah, for example, Abude already did some patches for performance testing ecosystem, and Natasha is also interested to integrate plugin manager. So still we have a lot of activities related to JSOC, to JCask and JSOC projects.
All right, cool. Thanks for that update. So we have the Jenkins Configuration-as-Code community bridge project discussion. Sladen, do you want to talk about that?
Yeah, sure. So as I discussed with Oleg, I think we thought about, I actually read the community bridge kind of the application form that was there, and Oleg said that you could apply there formally, and they had a GCAS, they had all of the configuration ready to actually start this project. So he told me to pick you guys on the channel and take some beginner pull requests. So that's what I did. I just picked some beginner pull requests, and actually wanted to discuss some of the things that we could do as a part of the community bridge project. So yeah, so anything you guys can contribute, like add.
Yeah, so maybe it makes sense to briefly introduce community bridge. Actually, this is a JSOC as a service program being run by Linux Foundation. Jenkins project moves to Continuous Delivery Foundation, and Continuous Delivery Foundation is a part of Linux Foundation. So basically, we get access to this platform and we can use it for our projects. And yeah, 1 month ago or so, there was a discussion at advocacy and outreach SIG meetings about using the platform. We have created a stub project there. And yeah, basically there is an interest to try it out and to have a program running, but it will be a low scale program. So maybe a few students and few projects. And yeah, thanks a lot for your interest. I think we can use it as an opportunity to run the program. Yeah. Unfortunately, I'm still waiting for advocacy and outreach meeting recordings to be published. So I cannot refer anything specific. And yeah, if you want, I can just screen share and show this program. But yeah, basically nothing is really settled there. So we just have open way to apply. And yeah, we don't have a strictly defined process and strictly defined timelines.
Okay. Well, feel free to show something there if you want, or let us know what you need from us there. Is there anything you want to discuss now, or?
I think it was discussing now.
Yeah.
So, Sladen, if you have some ideas, what you would like to work on, or particular areas you would like to focus on?
Yeah, yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
anything that you guys, if you guys have any project in mind regarding Gcask, I would love to, like, maybe we could set up maybe a Gitter channel or something where we could just focus on this a particular project like this. So I'm just, since I'm just beginning to solve some issues, I'm getting a feel of it. So if you guys have any sort of a specific project that you want to undertake, we could actually iron out the details.
Yeah, there's definitely a few small features. I'm not sure for larger projects, but there's quite a few non-trivial features that would be great to work on.
I think I shared a doc on the Gitter channel regarding the project. Maybe I don't remember exactly where it is. Maybe we could add some points there regarding to what we discussed.
Let me see if I can find it. Okay, I'll share my screen again. Show it.
Yeah, I'm also
sure.
looking for the document in parallel. So basically, if you add agenda items, don't hesitate to just add links to the agenda so that we can quickly find them.
Yeah, so this was the Community Bridge project doc.
Yeah, just nothing much, just a brief description.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, for us, it's really what you're interested in working on. There's certainly, there's certainly some nice missing features around the IDE and the schema that would be quite nice to fix and enhance, because the schema doesn't really work properly right now. So you can't validate, and you can't use a JSON schema for IDE auto completion. It'd be quite nice.
Could you add it to that doc? Yeah, that would be. I mean, if you have a concrete kind of set of points.
Yeah, I'm adding it to the meeting notes right now. But yeah, we can move it to the Google Doc.
I think that's one of the main features. The other one is the wrong configuration kills Jenkins startup would be quite a nice one to look at.
Yeah, could we compile? I think we could compile all of these issues into a single problem statement where we could actually take it up as a full-fledged project then.
Yeah.
So if you want to have a bigger problem statement, so what team was referencing, it would be integration development tools and support of development tools. So it might be D integrations, it may be validation, it might be, for example, Jenkins pipeline steps or whatever, which would be able to verify that, so that somebody could set up CI/CD. It could be whatever other checkers. So I guess it would be interesting for any project user.
Yeah,
and other possible problem statements are just whatever integrations, whatever new features. For example, UFA was interested in adding support of providing configurations not from file system but from S3. And in such case, it would also require some architecture changes, for example, adding extension points, adding additional providers. So if you're interested in such work, it could be also doable.
Yeah, cool. I think I would just have a look of all these points that you add, and then I think maybe formulate a problem statement and propose it. Maybe that would be cool.
Yeah.
Do you guys require any proposal of sort, like, since we're following the GSOC framework, so just in case, so that we document everything that we're going through?
Yeah, so my suggestion would be to have a proposal.
Yep.
I don't think that you need to spend too much time on the proposal, because
Yep.
the main idea for that is just have top level guidance and understanding what you want to do.
Yep. Yeah. Cool. Cool.
Yeah, and since you already applied, we can review that. You already did some contributions. We have
Yep.
a
Yeah.
Gitter chat, so we can just discuss that. And yeah,
Yeah. Cool.
there is no need in application just to have application, but still having some proposal would be nice. But yeah, you
Yeah. Cool.
already
I
have
think
a
that's a nice.
Google Doc, so you can just update it.
Yeah. Cool. I think that's a nice idea.
Yeah, right. And yeah, you also had a question about a special Gitter chat. Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. I know. I don't think that's needed, right?
yeah,
We can just have the normal Gcast channel.
yeah. I think
Yeah, because we're because I think too many channels would be difficult to like track.
yeah, that's for sure. And yeah, Configuration-as-Code channel is definitely a place where you will get feedback from potential stakeholders.
Yeah. And regarding to mentors, I think Tim and Joseph would be mentors. I think.
Are you
Or
interested?
Yep.
are there any specific? Yeah. Would that be cool? Or
Sorry.
Hmm.
okay. Cool.
Uh, yeah, so we firstly need to understand the time frame for the project, because
Yeah. Yeah.
what we tentatively put in a community breach, that's it's autumn, because
Yeah.
yeah, my approach was that JSOC finishes in mid August, and
Yeah.
after that we can start community breach because we have momenters around, etc.
Yeah.
But
Cool.
yeah, basically we can start when you and mentors agree. So I can adjust the program to get it running.
Yeah.
Uh,
I think I would be flexible. Yeah. Depends on
mhm,
my mentor. Yeah. Tim. Like, you have
mhm.
any thoughts on that? Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
Mhm. So one potential side of community breach is financial side. So yeah, for
Yeah.
example, JSOC students get a stipend, and we
Yeah.
had a discussion in our advocacy and outreach special interest group about having a kind of stipend for community breach participants. So
Yeah.
right now it's not confirmed, but I got
Yeah.
initial feedback that we could do so. So
Yeah.
I would be just interested to know what is your expectation so that I can work on that.
I think I don't have any such expectations from the financial
Mhm.
side. It's just a learning kind of a thing
Yeah.
for me. So anything from your side would be fine. I think
Okay.
I don't have any such specific expectations. No
Okay.
specific.
Yeah, right. But yeah, if you dedicate significant time, well, let's say 30, 40 hours per week, then of course we need to think about something. If it's a
Yeah.
relaxed mode, just like other open source contributors do, it's other option. But yeah, again, we are pretty much flexible there.
Yeah. Cool.
Mhm. So yeah, I'll see what we can do about that, and yeah,
Yeah.
I'll circle back. But Joseph, team, what would be your availability in terms? So let's assume this project starts. I can handle all formalities maybe in 1 or 2 weeks.
Okay.
What is your preferred time frame for starting the project?
Like I'm available on chat during the day, my time zone, and I can have calls every now and then. And definitely I can have a recurring call or ad hoc every now and then, but not
Mhm.
hugely frequently. But I'm around mostly.
Mhm.
Same for me. So yeah.
Mhm. So basically, you're fine to start when you're ready.
Yep.
Yep.
Mhm.
Yep.
Yeah, and what about you, John? Would you be interested?
Sorry, I wasn't really listening to the details, but if it's in my time zone, I'll be I'll be usually be available. I got obviously some vacation coming up, but apart from that, uh, I'll be around.
Okay. So yeah, then yeah, my action item is to just get everything running, but yeah, I can probably do it in a couple of weeks.
Yeah. I think, yeah, the formalities. Yeah, that would be good.
Hmm.
Yeah. Regarding the mail and stuff, yeah, you could send a formal mail which could actually, yeah, kind of, so that we have all the documents and stuff ready. I mean, if we need
Okay,
any.
yeah, that's fine.
Yeah.
Thank you for that.
Cool. Yeah, you're welcome.
Okay. All right. I think we'll go over to Natasha now for the plugin management GSOC project integration.
Yeah, so I just kind of wanted to see, I guess, like kind of how this would fit into configuration as code and try to better understand like how those two will fit together, and then like, yeah, how I can configure like my project to fit in what's existing, and I guess like how configuration as code would want to use the plugin library. Hello?
Hmm?
Did you? Oh, okay. So I don't know if you caught that. I guess so. Maybe just for like, this is kind of just like really basic stuff, but like, so I guess like first question is like how would like configuration as code want to use the plugin library? And then I know that this was kind of done before, but there were some issues. So I just want to try to understand that better. So I was wondering if you guys could explain that in a little bit more detail.
So I can say what the problem with the previous implementation was. There was two problems with it. One was that there was no guarantee that the plugin would be installed before the configuration was loaded that required it. And the other one was that sometimes there needed to be a restart when plugins were installed. And then there was two problems with that. One was there was a bug somewhere that was causing a reboot loop when that happens. And two, that causes Jenkins to be restarted, whereas the rest of the configuration can all be applied live. So it's just complexities which led to a lot of people not using the functionality. And the reboot loop happened a few times to people, which really scared them away. And most people, like myself, just didn't use it as soon as they hit the problem where they would put the plugin configuration in, or the config for the plugin in and the plugin, and the configuration wouldn't. The configuration would fail because the plugin wasn't installed yet.
Yeah. So yeah, there are multiple issues with that. Basically, there are many ways to resolve the issue for installing a new plugin. But the real problem starts with updating plugins, because firstly, you cannot update plugin without restart. Hence, all issues are referenced by Tim and Joseph. And if you restart, there is no guarantee that the instance will start up at all after applying the update, because JCask doesn't verify that. So unless you have whatever automatic disaster recovery integrated, updating plugins via Jenkins Configuration-as-Code is pretty complicated. And when we were talking about this issue for the tickets, actually the consensus was that instead of doing it via plugin, we would rather do it via library, because in Jenkins, it's possible to inject a library which works on very startup and does something. So for example, we could inject it using custom word packager and doing initialization of plugins before Jenkins even starts a plugin loading loop. Does it make sense?
Yeah, I think so. And then so like right now, so I guess like my understanding of current functionality in core is like there's sort of two steps. It's like A, the plugins have to be downloaded, and then B, they have to be installed, or so like I think right now, basically what the library does is it just downloads them. So is this something where like it would also have to install them, or is that would just be, it would be the same thing where it would just like download and then it would just be injected before like the installation even happens?
I think there are a lot of options, so you don't need to implement the existing code. So
Okay.
yeah, what could we easily do? We could just make the library you're working in a part of Jenkins core. So I'm not sure whether other contributors would agree with that. But basically, we could inject support of plugin loading directly into Jenkins. Or it's not a problem to do it for Docker images, for example, because for Docker images, it's much more trivial. So now install plugins SH works only when you build the image, but basically you can invoke the script or your tool when the image starts up. And yeah, in such case, you can also do some automatic initialization. So for me, the best way to get JCask integrated with plugin management is to not do any changes on the JCask plugin side, but implement whatever library which can read from Jenkins YAML and which installs the plugin according to that when Jenkins starts up. So basically, you already support plugins TXT. If you had support of Jenkins YAML as an input, and if we can ensure that, well, basically we can then use a single YAML definition, so it will be read in two places.
Okay,
Yeah.
I see.
So for me, it would be probably the most optimal way to go, because otherwise you will likely hit a lot of issues, including Jenkins architecture ones. But yeah. I haven't tried it yet, so I cannot say what would be the downside.
Okay, thanks.
What do others think?
It would make sense to me. The only risk I would see there was people thinking that the plugins would get reloaded when they changed them because the rest of the configuration can be reloaded on change, whereas the plugin would require a reboot. But there may be a way to make that clear. But yeah, I certainly agree that directly in the plugin is quite complicated and would likely require some core changes to integrate it properly.
Yeah, right. There was a pull request by Kosuke at some point to have pluggable core components. So basically, the idea was that to be able to load core components like Stepler or Jenkins remoting from a plugin. So there was a prototype for that, but this prototype has never been completed and integrated. But yeah, if we had this prototype in the core, we could have done something like that from plugin code base.
Yeah.
Basically, it does exactly the same as just injecting library. It just has some machinery to read plugins and extract these libraries before it really starts loading the plugins. No, yeah, it sounds odd, but it's exactly what that pull request was doing.
Yeah.
Okay, I think that answers most of my questions, or at least kind of like it gives me an idea of like where to go from here. So it sounds like the main thing is just making this work with like the Jenkins YAML file, and then I guess also figuring out like how to inject that as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so there would be multiple things. So yeah, supporting YAML input is definitely a thing. Then you would need to ensure that this input can coexist with JCask plugin, because if you just install plugins using this YAML and then JCask refuses to load because it discovers a section which is not supported, it's probably not the best experience. So maybe it still presumes some integration with JCask plugin just to ensure that the configuration doesn't bring down the instance initialization. Or maybe some edit value features, for example, integration with Update Center to show which plugins are pinned and which plugins are updatable manually. Or maybe you just want to disable update plugins when they are configured via JCask. So there are multiple options for you if you want to improve integration between JCask plugin and plugin management tools. But yeah, it's a rather question what you're interested to work on.
Okay. I think right now, so my main focus, at least like for the most immediate future, is just getting things working with Docker. But I'm just trying to kind of figure out, you know, what's next in the pipeline. So I don't know, maybe we can talk a little bit more about like kind of some of those options when I actually start trying to work on that.
Mm. Mm.
Okay.
Yeah, it sounds totally right. And yeah, so basically, once you have something working for plugin manager tool, maybe it makes sense to create a sample demo repository where you use your configuration tool to manage plugins and JCask plugins to manage configurations. And then you can use this repository to incrementally do changes and make them closer together. So it will be kind of reference implementation for using tools. And then all integrations can be just showcased there.
Okay.
Mm.
Okay. Thank you for that, Natasha. Does anyone have any other topics that they want to discuss?
I have some topics regarding some topics I would rather prefer to discuss after the broadcast. So if you, Joseph, and team can stay around for a while, it would be great.
I can stay for about 5 minutes if we want to
fine.
finish up now.
Okay, so people started dropping anyway. So I think I can stop the broadcast. Thanks to everybody who was watching.
Cool.